Welcome to a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing this week, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, good to hear. Good to hear. Today's episode is brought to you by the Electrek American Solar Challenge 2024. It's going to be a very cool event for students to showcase their engineering skill into solar electric cars. They're going to travel to the US. Seth is actually leaving for it right after the show, so we're going to talk to you a little bit more about it, and then you can even see Seth there if you want to go check it out. All right, let's jump in. We have a lot to talk about this week. It was kind of a lot of news items to discuss, but as we usually do, we're going to also take you guys' input. So if you want to comment about the things that we're going to discuss today, you can see them in the show notes right now, or just go right along with us. You can comment in the comment section right now, and at the end of the show, we're going to go through your comments. And if you guys have any question about any of the topics today or on any other topics in the EV industry, we're going to get to it too. The show is live and unedited. Although we do scroll through the comments, so don't before posting them, so don't go crazy. All right, this just happened last night. Tesla relaunched the Model 3 Long Range rear-wheel drive. Cool option that was available and then not available. I think in 2020, maybe the last time it was available in, I should say, in the US, because actually in China, I don't know if it's still available now, but China has had a lot more models than we did. Unfortunately, we do. Until now, because the multi-long range has been relaunched as a 363 miles of range vehicle, starting at $42,490 before incentive. If you're not great at math, it is eligible to the full $7,500 incentive. So if you're not great at math, this is a $35,000 Model 3 for those who are eligible. So it's not a bad deal at all, because you look at this, you get 100 more miles of the over the the standard range rear-wheel drive, and you get a full second. You shave off a full second of the 0 to 60 miles per hour acceleration for $3,500 more dollars. When you compare that to the bump you get from the Model 3 long range to the Model 3 long range all-wheel drive, which is $5,000 more, and you lose like 20-something miles of range. It's a big difference, and it's good to have the options, because there's plenty of people that don't really need all-wheel drive. Like in Quebec here, I don't know about you in New York, because it's a similar climate, but people often think like, oh, I absolutely need all-wheel drive, but you don't always need all-wheel drive.
No, especially if you have multiple cars, you can save the 1 or 2 or 3 snow days for the all-wheel drive car.
Especially depending on like here, that even here where we get a lot more than 2 and 3 snow days a year, we get a lot of them, but we are equipped to clean the roads. So for the most part, the roads get clear, and you don't really need all-wheel drive at all. Even if it's like sometimes it gets a little bit icy, but it's minimal. It depends.
Also, snow tires are much more important than
absolutely. Snow tires way over all-wheel drive. Good. If you cheap out on your snow tire, well, I'll give some news for you. All-wheel drive is not worth much. But like, there's people like my parents, for example, have a very stiff, like very, very straight up steep driveway with gravel on it, and there's not a lot of sun on it, so sometimes they get really icy, and without an all-wheel drive, they have some issues getting up of it. So like people like that, obviously all-wheel drive is probably a must. There's plenty of people that have similar situation, that they have like a cabin in the woods that they have to go through a dirt road that doesn't get cleared out every often enough. Things like that, is very useful in all-wheel drive. But for the most part, a sedan, like we're talking about, a family sedan here, you don't always need all-wheel drive, and you get 20 more miles of range, and for a lot less, because it's 5,000 difference between the cheapest long range Model 3, which is the all-wheel drive version. So this is a pretty good deal. The deliveries are starting now, according to Tesla. Like, they are getting this thing in production right away. And yeah, especially if you're eligible to the tax credit, it's a pretty good deal. All right, moving on. We have a report from Bloomberg that claims that Tesla is about to delay the launch of the unveiling of the launch is probably not the right word. The unveiling of the Robotaxi. Elon announced that it's going to be on August 8th. And we don't know a ton about it. It was first confirmed to be a planned vehicle in the Tesla product lineup at the Investor Day the year prior. Elon said that Tesla planned to build a dedicated self-driving vehicle. Rather, he's been saying for years that all Tesla vehicles are going to be capable of self-driving. We're not quite there yet, but now, in a weird move, he decided to create another vehicle that's just specifically for self-driving. The vehicle is interesting for a little bit more than that, because obviously it's going to have no steering wheel, no accelerator and pedals and brakes, so completely driverless. But it's also going to be Tesla's now only vehicle that's going to be built on the Unbox vehicle platform that is supposedly going to result in pretty significant cost reduction. So this is kind of a gambit for Tesla, a bet on self-driving and also on great cost reduction, which maybe will result in a cost reduction in another vehicle as well, even though the other vehicle that were planned for the Unbox has been postponed. What we know about it has been like in the biography by Walter Isaacson, it was mentioned as going to be Cybertruck-like. There was this image that is supposedly, again from the book, of an early prototype of the Robotaxi.
Is that a three-wheeler or four-wheeler?
Yeah, it could be two covered wheels in the back. I would be shocked if it's a three-wheeler. It would be incredible, but it would also kind of mitigate the impact of the Unbox platform. Like, three-wheelers are a lot cheaper to make than four-wheelers. Right. Like, you're like, hey, we managed to cut like 25% of the cost. It's like, yeah, you cut 25% of the wheels too.
Right.
So yeah, I would assume that it's covered wheels, but you never know. So yeah, it was supposed to be unveiled in April. So just a few months ago, it was announced that it was going to be unveiled on August 8th. But we weren't putting too much credibility on this, because this was amid Elon just coming back to Tesla after not spending too much time at the company for a long time because Twitter and all that. And also amid his push to solidify his position at Tesla amid the challenge, a proxy challenge around his compensation package. And he came in at Tesla like a wrecking ball, cancel a bunch of program, change a bunch of effort or resources. Oh, my light just literally died right in front of me right now. Yeah, it's fully dead. Okay.
You still look great.
It's done a year and a half or something. These things they light up for a long time, so it makes sense. We'll work on it. Moving on. So Elon canceled the two other vehicles on the Unbox, transferred some of the construction resources to the new supercluster that they are building at Gigafactory Texas, and to the Robotaxi production lines, and also the design and engineering effort to the Robotaxi. Obviously, if you cancel the other ones, you can focus on that. And then right after that, he announced, we're going to unveil a Robotaxi in August. So this was a lot of changes in a short period of time, and then Elon putting a deadline on it like he usually does. We also mentioned at the time that they wanted to match in August the launch of the supercluster and the Gigafactory Texas. And when we did our report, we did know that some insiders were thinking that this probably not doable. So also part of a possible delay. Now, Bloomberg came out with a report this week saying that Tesla is delaying its planned Robotaxi unveiling to October from August, specifically to allow teams working on the project more time to build additional vehicle prototypes, according to people familiar with the decision. So this was a report from Bloomberg. Tesla hasn't commented on it. And when I say Tesla, obviously, I mean Elon. And Elon's old thing about like media lying all the time and all that, like he's generally quick to jump onto some of these stories, especially since it like dropped Tesla stock by like 6% yesterday when it came out. So if he hasn't denied the story yet, I would assume that it is true. Are you shocked, Seth?
No.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Robotaxi, like it's unveiled. Like I'm sure Tesla could unveil something.
Well, I was going to say they're just going to show what they are making. They're not going to they don't have to have one on the street in August.
But the only thing that I'm thinking on that front is like if they do get some kind of like geofencing ride-hailing service deal with a city, it would be a big change of approach. But a lot of people, ourselves included, have been saying for years that it's probably the more like the approach that makes the more sense to start like that, like every other company has done.
Right.
So especially for regulatory approval, it makes the most sense. So maybe these 2 or 3 months, additional months, could help make a deal like that, and they could unveil the vehicle with some kind of actual, commercial products behind it. I don't know. It's just, 2 or 3 months is not a lot of time to do that too, but any day count at this point. All right, speaking of self-driving, one of the things that hasn't been putting a lot of hype around the Robotaxi is the fact that Tesla's current self-driving effort, the supervised self-driving, hasn't been going too well. Like since the launch of V12 earlier this year, we Seth and I both been impressed by V12. We're like, this is the biggest improvement, the most noticeable improvement since FSD beta, 3 years ago at this point. But my main thing personally has been, okay, now that we have this, and we have Elon claiming that the Tesla is not compute constrained anymore. So you have V12 end-to-end neural nets that, if you train them, they improve. And then you have no restriction in terms of compute power for training. You should see quick improvements. And that has not been the case. There's a bunch of the V12.3 that made it to the fleet, was pulled back. Then you have V12.4 that Elon has been hyping up like crazy, going as far as thinking that you will go a full year between intervention, 5 to 10 times fewer intervention in the V12.3. So like huge, hypes up. And this has been delayed like 2 months now, this update. So not looking good. It is finally being pushed to the fleet, the wider fleet, because it has been in internal testing for the last few months. Elon kept saying like next week it's going to be released, and it hasn't been. But now the V12 Tesla scope, which has its software in a bunch of Tesla, so they can track releases of software, and based on their population, they can predict like how many vehicles are getting a new update. And they see that the V12.4.3 is now being pushed through the 2024.15.15 software update. And from what they see now, it looks like about 1 to 5% of eligible vehicles are getting it. So this doesn't sound like much, but it's actually much bigger than the internal testing that Tesla has, and the small customer fleet, like the VIPs, which we're going to get to in a minute. So the update is now getting there. I haven't received it yet personally. At least I checked this morning. I didn't get it. Seth didn't get it either, which is a bummer because he's going on a nice long road trip. Could have been some good testing time.
Yep.
But yeah, if you did get it, let us know what you think about it in the comment section. We'd like to discuss it later on in the show in the second half. But the next thing we're going to discuss is something that we've been suspecting for a while, that apparently has been confirmed by Business Insider, that has done a report with a dozen current and former Tesla insiders. That's what they said, that claim that Elon has been optimizing full self-driving on routes that he takes and routes that Tesla influencers, people that post videos of their FSD drive on social media, have been taking. So specifically what we're saying here, they're talking about the data annotation team. So for those who don't know, Tesla has automated some of that, but they are still at one point it was thousands. Now maybe it's hundreds of people that take videos from the fleet, coming in from the fleet, and they annotate the data to tell the neural net what's happening in those data, and then feed that to the neural net so that they can gain a better understanding of specific situations, whether it's like corner cases or different signage that they hasn't seen before, different line markings they haven't seen before. It can be like a weird trailer. It can be like things that you encounter around the route, and you tell the neural net this is what you're seeing, so deal with it. Now that you know what it is, you can deal with it. And this is useful. This is, for example, this is why, amongst other reasons, other than regulatory reasons, this is why Tesla hasn't launched FSD in other market either. because in Europe and China and other markets they have different signage, and the neural nets need to be trained on those signage. Apparently that's what's happening right now with development in Europe and China for FSD, new regulatory approval and all that. So if you train, that's why we suspected at first that the reason why Elon and some of these Tesla influencers were seeing better results with unsupervised, supervised, I should say, self-driving, is that they are getting more training data in California and Texas, where those people are located for the most part. And that made sense to me. Yeah, they're getting most of the data. But now we're going on like 2.5 years since they greatly expanded the FSD beta, now supervised FSD, to more regions. So they're getting data from everywhere. But there's limitation on how good this data is based on annotation. And now this report from Business Insider says that these data annotator were given 2 prioritization categories that were called Elon Musk and VIPs. So they were prioritizing they were prioritizing specifically routes that Elon was taking, and you can check out. We linked in our report. We can check out the Business Insider report. They give a bunch of specific example where annotators were giving like routes from a mansion that was known to be owned by Elon to a SpaceX office to more recently a Twitter office too. Then same thing with Tesla and around Austin, a mansion where Elon was known to stay at a friend, a route specifically from that to the Tesla Gigafactory, Texas. And then the same thing from some VIPs, which turned out that they would identify as people that post, especially on X and YouTube, videos of Tesla FSD driving around. Which could explain now why some of these people and Elon himself have had a much better experience than I would. I cannot obviously talk about the average experience exactly. I don't have a perfect poll on that, but based on my experience for using it for more than 2 years, set experience of a lot of people that I would call unbiased with the situation. And these are people unbiased, and they are people that bought FSD and wanted to work because they bought it. But up until that point, if you remove that, they are unbiased about it. It hasn't been the same experience at all. And you even had Elon like saying, all you have to do is try it. All you have to do is watch those videos on YouTube of people trying it if you cannot try it yourself, and you see how good it is. And we always been pushing back against that. Like, what are you talking about, Elon? Like, we've been trying it for years, and there's intervention every day, if not every 15 minutes sometimes. So we haven't been as impressed as Elon, to say the very least. And now we have a good idea why. Is because Tesla is literally optimizing the experience for Elon and those people. So there's a discrepancy that's created between their experience and the average experience, which is not great, obviously. The only devil's advocate that I could play here is obviously he's the CEO of the company and he gives feedback. You're going to prioritize his feedback. That makes sense.
Sure.
Now, for the influencers, there is some people in that report from some insiders that did argue that, some of them are pushing the product a little bit further. And therefore, they were creating some cases that were worth more for the annotation team. So they were doing that. But for the most part, the insiders agreed that it was ultimately just creating a customer-facing experience, and then the marketing experience to sell that. And Elon has been using that to sell it. There's a lot about it that is different from the actual user experience. So obviously, there's an argument there too. So either way, it's not ideal. And I don't like that Elon is just hyping up the product while not actually having the actual experience behind the product, like the real experience. And he's been saying for a while, like, oh, just try it and it's gonna be great for yourself. But he himself, he should probably go try like a Waymo taxi or something like that, just to open himself up. It looks like he's a little bit in a bit of an echo chamber lately when it comes to that stuff.
And just about everything else too.
Yeah, there's an argument there too. All right, moving on from this news. Oh yeah, there was a new Model Y spotted with some camouflage on it, which sparked a lot of interest from people because the camouflage that you see here is specifically on the front end of the vehicle and the back end of the vehicle. And we've seen a lot of these prototypes on the Model 3 Island, prototypes ramping up before the unveiling. And there's been these rumors about a Model Y refresh called Jupiter or Juniper or Jupiter.
Juniper, yeah.
Juniper.
Like gin.
Yeah. And then Elon responded to that. Elon and Tesla specifically. Before Elon even mentioned it, Tesla sent out some talking points to employees to let them know to communicate to customers that there's not going to be a Model Y refresh this year. And then Elon doubled down on that on Twitter. So it's been pretty clear that there won't be one this year. And to be honest, even we were seeing though a prototype now, like 6 months ahead of the new year. We've seen Model 3 refresh prototypes around way longer than that too. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's true that there won't be a Model Y this year, probably next year. And some of the Model 3 refreshes, the features that were refreshed were already in the Model Y, for example. So it's not probably not going to be that big of a refresh, but it's needed, and Tesla has to be careful with that, obviously, because then it could affect current sales if the refresh is being hyped up a lot. And obviously, the Model Y is its biggest seller, so it would be a bad thing. Any 10% reduction in demand for the Model Y impacts Tesla's entire business a lot, since Model 3 hasn't been going exactly great, and as we reported last week, Model S and X sales are in the dumpster right now. All right, this is actually great Tesla news here. I always love to see that. The virtual power plant in California has achieved 100 megawatt of power yesterday in an emergency response event. So VPPs, virtual power plants, they are using Tesla's distributed energy system, primarily power walls and solar. Well, the solars are feeding the power walls, and the power walls are the one actually doing the VPP work here. When a specific market, Tesla has deal with electric utilities in specific markets, and when they need more power, which they usually do by activating peaker plants, which are polluting gas plants that provide little help to achieve the peak power when there's a lot of demand, and so those are costly to turn on, and they are again polluting. So instead of doing that, they can turn to Tesla and say, "Hey, can you tell all your people that have power walls right now instead of like taking power, to send us some power, and we'll pay them a lot more than they paid to get that power if they got it from us in the first place, because most of the time they actually combine it with solar. So there's solar power they're actually sending back, and we're gonna pay you in case of the PG&E in California, Northern California, was $2 per kilowatt hour." Which to me sounds crazy because we pay like 10 cents per kilowatt hour. But in California, they have some crazy prices at some places. Sometimes it's like 30 cents, 60 cents a kilowatt hour. But still, you $2 is a lot more. So you're going to make money. And then for a certain period of time, your power wall discharge that power into the grid, using it where they need it. And that way, they don't have to activate that peaker plant. So even though they pay more for the energy, they still save money, and the Powerwall owner gets some money of that. People have seen between $10 and $60 per event. But the first time we've seen an event from Tesla 2 years ago, the power was about 1.5 megawatt. Then a few months later, it grew to like 15 megawatts. Now Tesla has achieved 100 megawatts on the California grid. So this is like a decent size power plant here that Tesla is able to create out of existing infrastructure that's already there. All the power walls are already there. The homeowners use them for the reason to prevent them from power outages, to maximize their own solar production. So this is like existing infrastructure is just like basically software we're talking about there. Just a software power plant, hence the name virtual power plant, obviously. So pretty cool. Like if you do some math, basically 100 megawatt, if the event lasted about an hour, that's $200,000 worth of energy that was discharged into the grid. That was paid to those Tesla Powerwall owners. Pretty good. And this will keep growing, obviously, as Tesla adds more Powerwall to the fleet. And also in other markets have it too. We've seen one in Vermont. We've seen one in Texas. There's one in New York, I think, too. It's not Tesla doing it, though. It's the other company. But you're using Tesla Powerwalls, but it's not managed by Tesla.
It's not Con Ed, is it?
No, that's I mean, it's under Con Ed, I think, as the electric utility, but there's another like third party that does the virtual power plant. I forget the name. All right, should we talk a little bit about the Electrek American Solar Challenge?
Yeah. So after the podcast today, I'm getting in the car, the Tesla, and full self-driving my way to Kentucky at the Corvette Museum Speedway, which is in Bowling Green, north of Nashville, Tennessee. And we'll be there for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, racing solar electric cars around a 3.1 something mile track. And then we're going to move to Nashville on Thursday and Friday. And we're going to race those things from Nashville to Casper, Wyoming. So that'll be super fun. Hopefully some of you guys can come out and join us. And we'll have lots of stories and pictures and stuff on Electrek. So if you can't join us, follow us there. And also go to AmericanSolarChallenge.org for all the latest info.
I think my internet is slow now. I tried to load the map, but it's just loading. Oh, there you go. Oh, we have a partnership on the national park with this.
Yep.
Oh, we updated the whole. That's way nicer. Yep. So here you have the whole map to get around if you want to follow through. So yeah, if you're around these areas, let us know too in the comment section. If you're gonna go check it out, it will be really cool. Joe Barras said Swell Energy. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Swell Energy. All right, thank you, Joe. Check out Electrek Daily to check out Joe's daily podcast about all the news in the EV world.
He's been doing a great job on that.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, especially with his thumbnails. He's like killing it with the thumbnails right now.
I like the intro as well.
Yeah, the intros are good too. All right, one tidbit of this news before we move to other automaker. When we have a Ford unveiling this week, we have an MG Cyber something, and more to talk about. The Berlin Tesla Gigafactory Berlin had a staff meeting that was reported on by local media in Germany, and apparently it was contentious. There was a lot of tension between different working group, and it's specifically, we reported a few months ago there was a new election because in Germany they have unions, but then they have workers' council. So within like large company, the workers have their own council that they negotiate. I don't know exactly how it works because like unions can get control of those worker council, and then it's like a union negotiating with the management. But then you also have separately a workers' council that does that is not linked to a wider union, if that makes sense. That's my understanding of the situation. And they have this giant union in Germany, that IG Metall, that is like the equivalent of the UAW in North America. And they have been trying to get into Tesla Gigafactory Berlin, and they've been doing that. In that election, they were the biggest group to win. Like had 16 seats, but they didn't get a majority. So the majority of employees actually voted against the union. So they're not in control of the workers' council, but they have influence in it. And now there was this big staff meeting this week, and there was tension between them and other employees and management, obviously. So the head of the council is still is a pro-management person, but he's still he knows that some of his workers that he represent are pro-union, pro-IG Metall union. Very complicated situation. And the union IG Metall, they are pushing against Tesla. They say that there are safety concerns at Tesla. That the incident rates are too high. They show certain statistics that show that, and Tesla shows statistics the contrary. And then they also say that they would want better pay and better job security because Tesla has fired a lot of people at the factory over the last few months, as they did globally. So the union is pushing for that, and the management was pushing against it. But actually, if you look at the meeting, from my headline has been that the union threatened strike at the Tesla after a contentious meeting, because I think that was the bigger part of the news. The representative for the IG Metal, James Boret, here, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, stated that a strike is a possibility amid the tension, though they did say that it's last resort. So they threaten it, but just like they introduce the idea of it to put pressure, but they're not saying that they're going to use it just now. But the thing that actually grabbed all the headline is Andre Tirig, the plant manager, that took the stage at one point, and instead of discussing these tensions that were being discussed as part of the meeting, he complained about the coffee mugs. He said, "I'm just going to give you a figure. We bought 65,000 coffee mugs since we started production here. 65,000. Statistically speaking, each of you already has 5 IKEA coffee cups at home. I'm really tired of approving orders to buy more coffee cups." There's about 12,000 employees at this Giga Factory Berlin, so 65,000 mugs is indeed a little bit weird. So he's accused the employees of stealing the mugs, and he says that he's going to take away
paper cups.
yeah, he's going to take away the cutlery at the break rooms if the theft keeps going. Oh, we're just pretty crazy. He can
Reminds me of the toilet paper incident 5 years ago.
Very much so. And we actually were able to confirm that story eventually, because you went to the Monkisco service center, and they did not have toilet paper. That was 2 years after a report, but still vindicated at last.
For sure.
All right, this is a new initiative from the Biden administration. They managed to take Biden's arm and get this one signed. This is a new deal. Yeah. Sorry. It's just, it blew my mind. But like, you see the thing yesterday with the calling Zelensky Putin, introducing him as Vladimir Putin, president of Russia. You missed that one. It was an insane one.
I can't watch any of it.
They selected 11 plants that are currently producing non-electric vehicles, just gasoline cars, and they're gonna invest they're gonna give grants, so that's good, that's free money, $1.7 billion in grants at these 11 selected plants to help them convert them to electric vehicle production. So let me see if we have a list. Oh, we have a list here. Here's the full list of the programs. So I know that GM got one, and so you have in Toledo, Ohio, you have American Auto Parts, which is part of Mobis. Mobis isn't Mobis part of some other? Isn't not a big automaker? That's
No, I think you're thinking of Mopar, maybe.
Maybe. Bluebird in Georgia, Fort Valley, Georgia, getting also for the electric bus, Cummins, electrified power. They're gonna have one in Columbus, Indiana, again for zero-emission vehicles. Fiat Chrysler, getting a boost at this Belvedere assembly plant in Illinois. Again, Chrysler getting some money, this time for Kokomo. Oh, Kokomo, Indiana. That's cool. General Motors at its Lansing, Michigan plants getting some money. Harley Davidson getting a grant for its York, Pennsylvania plant. Volvo, and then ZF North America. Volvo is getting a lot. One from his Pennsylvania, another in Virginia, and then one in MD is Maryland. I think so. MD.
Yeah, Maryland.
Yeah,
it looks like it's from their commercial trucks division, not their.
Yeah, exactly. Same as ZF North America is also a truck company. So this one is in Michigan. So this is going to help a lot of these companies convert to electric vehicles. Now, I saw a bunch of Tesla fans complaining, "Oh, all these legacy automakers getting all that money, and Tesla not getting anything." This program is specifically for companies that are producing gasoline vehicles and to convert their effort to electric. I think this is a pretty good program, honestly. And Tesla has done that in the past, and they have gotten a lot of government incentive to do that when they converted the Fremont factory to an electric vehicle plant. But Tesla has kind of stopped doing that now, where they don't like getting existing plants and converting them to electric vehicle production. They much prefer now building their own plant from the ground up, just to optimize it for vehicle production, which, different approach.
Yep.
And it looks to be like the right one too, because Rivian, did the same thing with the Mitsubishi plant in Illinois, and then their second plant was they want to build them from the ground up in Georgia, so they're not alone in that path.
Yep.
All right, Ford unveiled the Capri EV in the European market. Basically like a fastback version of the Explorer, with some design changes that are arguably not the best. The side view, a lot of people have seen the side view is like the Polestar,
Yeah.
because of the fastback, I assume. But the
Yeah, it's
front
a little
view,
higher up.
no, front view here, I don't know what
Yeah.
you think, Seth, but
I don't know. I mean, there's only so many ways you can kind of make a SUV, small SUV looking thing look. I don't hate it. I don't love it. Somewhere in the middle.
fastback too is resulting in a little bit tighter storage in the back, but that's if you want more, you get the Explorer EV. Interior is pretty sleek.
Yep.
I like this a lot. Yeah, this is nice actually. The interior is nice. Size-wise, it's similar to the VW ID.5. Spec-wise, I have this here. So the Capri Premium. What do we have here? So there's two trims: the Capri Premium. The rear-wheel drive Capri EV is powered by a 77 kilowatt-hour battery, up to 390 miles of range, 27 kilometers, but that's the WLTP. And then the Premium has there's 2 more kilowatt hour. It's not a big difference, but it is all-wheel drive though. So you do drop some range, but not too much. 368 miles, 592 kilometers. Again, this is WLTP, so it doesn't account for climate control and all that. So it's, unless you're someone who drives around without any climate control, you can expect a little bit of a drop. There's 12 ultrasonic sensors, 5 cameras, 3 radars around the vehicle, 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. So that's for the all-wheel drive version.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, so decent. Although Ford has yet to officially reveal price, the EV is expected to cost more than the electric Explorer, starting at around $50,000 US. Well, it's not available in Europe, but in the US, it's only in euros. It's 47,000 euros. Yeah, I should mention, by the way, like the Explorer, this is built on the Volkswagen MEB platform. So this is, Ford is involved in this, but it's a lot of a Volkswagen vehicle too.
So basically, this is an ID.4.
Yeah, or closer to ID.5, apparently.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we have one last piece of news to discuss before we jump into the comment section. So if you guys have any questions for us, put them in the comment section, and we'll get to them in just a few minutes. The MG Cyber GTS was fully unveiled this week. So MG is this British brand, but they are now Chinese-owned and built in China too. So this was kind of the European debut of the MG Cyber GTS, because I think it's been produced in China already. And this is kind of the Chinese foray into the small electric sports car with a foreign brand, because MG is, again, British. I don't hate it. It looks pretty good. I don't like the paint job though, but that's not
Yeah,
a big deal.
I think that can be easily fixed.
Yeah. So it's a 2x2. So 4-seater. It's available, I think, in a hardtop and then a convertible. Yeah, both hardtop convertible. Price is pretty good. The equivalent of $44,000 to $50,000 US. So not too bad. It's not, but it's not a crazy powerful vehicle. Like it's a smaller, like lighter EV for a sports experience. So the single motor model is 231 kilowatts to 250. I don't know what makes the difference. And then you can add an additional 150 kilowatt motor on the front. So you have 250 in the back and 150 in the front, which should be like pretty fun to drive. It's decent 400 kilowatt output, 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds.
Fast.
Yeah, very fast, man. And here's the thing: it doesn't have a huge battery. It's 60. Well, it's pretty decent. It's decent sized battery for the size of the car, but it's not. You didn't go overboard. Like 60 kilowatt hour, 64 kilowatt hour. Sorry, which give you 311 miles of range. That's a CLTC standard, so you can expect a little bit less than that, but it should be like a 250-mile range car, easy, in my opinion. And then you can also get the 77 kilowatt hour version, which start to get a little bit heavier. And you get closer to 360 miles of range, 580 kilometers. You should still be on over 200 miles a car, and that's on the rear-wheel drive version. If you want to get the all-wheel drive version, dual motor, you drop to 323 miles of range. Oh, it has these butterfly doors. Okay,
Sweet.
Yeah, I think this is available right now or in China, but do they say anything about this coming to Europe?
I mean, it went to Goodwood, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, why would you do that unless you? I mean, I say that, but there was a bunch of other Chinese EVs in Goodwood too, and this is very much a Chinese EV, even though it's called MG. All right, I should jump into the comment section.
All right, our friend Carl in San Diego's back. Tesla's way behind compared to the others for having Robotaxi without a driver. It's not even close.
I mean, when you take into account that some people already have driverless vehicles,
right. Well, Waymo's doing that right now. Hedged Hog says, what's with EVgo stock? I actually looked at that. It's up 10%, but there's a bunch of EV stocks that are up like 10% today. I noticed LEV was up about 10%. Rivian was up 10% earlier. I think it's just a good day for the EV stocks.
And has it been doing better like the past few months?
I haven't looked long term, but today.
Yeah, it's up 39% in the last 6 months. So, but just 11% year to date.
All right, Dan Oberste got 12.4 last week. I'd be tricked into thinking I'm an influencer, but Tesla clearly hasn't optimized my routes. It still chooses the wrong exit lane as it has for going on 3 years. I was driving yesterday and I ran a red light.
Jeez.
Yeah, FSD. It was yellow, and I was like, you probably should stop. And then just went right through it. So
yeah,
not perfect yet.
There are a few lights around me and a few intersections that have weird light placement that even myself, I'm like a little bit confused at time. That almost did that too, but it stopped at the end. Yeah, it's not great. It's not the path from right now to actual driverless system is just still not clear in my head. It's just, and we should note Elon kind of commented on the fact that V12.4 was late, is still late because I still haven't, even though Dan got it, you lucky bastard. He said that now the problem is the delays are due to Tesla putting together a new version of the system and not knowing if it's better or not because there's so few intervention.
Right.
Which I'm gonna call bullshit on. Like it makes no sense to me unless like he's completely living in his route optimized bubble. But like if that's the case, show us the data. And they've never showed the intervention data. Like if now it's like so good that you're having issues finding problems because there's no intervention, show us the data. Now would be the time, and they're still not showing the data, which not a good look to me. Like it's not a good look.
Yeah. All right. Carl saying that we're using past tense about the VIP training and it's still going on.
Yeah, it could very much still be going on. Yeah.
Trial doesn't have a strong adoption as a paid service. It's a toy feature that requires 100% of your attention. Well, currently, yes, but theoretically at some point it won't. Question: does Tesla take a cut when VPP is occurring, a sort of virtual power plant, or does all that arbitrage money go to the homeowner? I would
No,
imagine they
I'm sure
probably
they're
take some.
taking a cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, they should, obviously.
All right, Joe, our fellow podcaster, has the swell Powerwall we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Bowling Green, where the Electrek Solar Challenge is going to be, has to be the original Southern car plant, right? Before BMW, Merc, and others open plants there. We are going to be specifically at the Corvette Museum, and I believe that Corvettes were made there or still made there. So obviously not EVs, but that's kind of their claim to fame at the moment. And good job on pronunciation. Dan Overstay, do these solar cars going between Nashville and Casper have air conditioning? It's hot down there in July. I don't think that any, maybe one or two or something, have air conditioning. The reason is obviously you want to spend all the energy in propulsion. They do have lots of air intake though. So the drivers who are students are cooled off, especially when these cars are going like 50 miles per hour. So you have a 50 mile per hour wind coming in. Even hot, muggy air is going to.
Yeah, and they have like support vehicles and all that too. So like, if and I think they can switch drivers, I assume
Yep.
too. So
Yep.
yeah.
Carl asks, if Harley Davidson spun off Livewire, why is it getting an EV grant, or is that just semantics?
It's just semantic, I would assume. Like, even though it has been spun off, I think they're still very much involved.
Yeah, Harley, a big part of it. One of the Volvo grants is a Mack truck plant. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
makes sense.
part of their. The Ford Capri also looks like a four-door Scion TC. I'm not sure I remember that one, but I guess. Livewire is still built in the York Harley plant, so that SPAC was largely performative. Huh.
Yeah, like they are often.
Yeah, it looks like a Polestar 2 as well. And it's an ID5 we mentioned. I think the MG Cyber GTS just broke cover today. Only the Cyberster has been on sale in China. Huh. Okay. Late Latte Land. Tesla needs to stimulate the S and X sales, could cut prices, add useful features, maybe a new version. Does it make sense to try to improve S and X given low max sales ceiling?
I'm a little bit confused because he says to improve them, and then he says it's not worth it. It's just
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are. I mean, the problem I have with the S and X is that they're too close to the Y and 3. Like the Model 3 is almost as good as the Model S. I mean, obviously it's bigger, and the Model X is bigger as well and has the Falcon Wing doors. But like, for the most part, most people who could buy an X probably want to just get a Y for half the price or a third of the price or whatever. So
yeah, I think Tesla was a little bit too optimistic when at first they thought like they would do still be able to do like 50,000 units of each a year.
yeah,
Which we're so far from that. Like, we're like 20% of that right now. But yeah, I think you're mostly right, because you could make things work with the next with the 3 and a Y. Even though I would argue that the S and X experience is probably a little bit better, but just is it $50,000 better, which is basically what, maybe not, but like $40,000, $30,000 better.
yeah, and
Which is what you're gonna pay.
I would also say, like, I think those are very big cars, the S and X. They're large, and I don't know that everybody wants them. Like, those are tight in the garages, tight in parking spaces. So
And bigger cars in North America, they do pretty well, but other countries not as much.
right.
So you limit yourself with that too.
Adrian notes that we should let Tesla know that we are influencers.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would jump right on that. I want them to improve S and X, but maybe not worth it.
No, okay, that's makes sense.
Falcon Wing doors on the X are not necessarily a sales feature. We have an XC90 PHEV instead of an X because the wife hates the doors. Yes, also a lot of other.
But the doors are not they're not bad. Like, I know they're gimmicky, they're flashy, but they actually work pretty well. Like, when I owned the Next for a year, and I had no complaints about the doors. You had the Next for a while too. Did you ever have any issues with your doors?
Yep.
You had issues?
We had an early X.
Yeah.
We leased we went in to buy one, and
Oh,
they
that's
said,
right.
hey,
Yeah.
hey, you can get this leased, last year's one way cheaper. So we're like, okay, got it. And it had a lot of problems, not just the doors, but everything else.
Yeah.
All right, a few more. Unfortunately, the VIP influencers didn't know their interventions were adulterating the training. I don't think they were happy to find their experience is now different than anyone else's.
Mm.
I don't think
Well,
they
it
care.
is better, so they cannot complain too much. But yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the reaction of those influencers being. I've mostly seen the reaction of like, yeah, obviously, like when they're gonna work on our thing. And people mentioned like Chuck Cook a lot, because we already knew about Tesla optimizing for his route because they kept sending vehicles there, internal testing vehicles there to do it. But I'm not saying that makes no sense. Obviously, that makes sense. It is he has a specific unpredicted left turn that is in his area that is a good challenge for Tesla to beat, basically. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying that obviously once Tesla beat that, like this specific left turn is going to work well, but not necessarily all left turns. So you have to keep in mind. This optimization for Elon and influencer is not a bad thing per se, as long as people are aware of it, are aware that you're watching something that has been optimized by Tesla. Elon is talking about 12v4 being near perfect because it's been optimized for him. So
Right.
like it's not a bad thing as long as you know about it. And thanks to Business Insider, now we know very clearly about it, and not thanks to Tesla.
Right.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, if you can give us a like, a thumbs up, all these things are free to do, and they help the show a lot more than you think. If you're listening on a podcast app right now, if you can give us a 5-star review, that helps a lot too, because we've been attacked last week by some
Uh-oh.
Elon fans saying that
no.
we're too hard on him. Poor guy,
Poor Elon.
He needs people to defend him by giving us 1 star on our podcast show. Anyway, so if you do enjoy the show, please give us a good review. That helps the show a ton. It's free to do, and it helps the show more than you think. All right, that's it for us this week. I hope you have a good one.